They just got, what was that, probably 5 minutes of behind the scenes incredible footage of us not knowing how to do anything.
Dear MK,
Can you help me?
oh my god, you'll never believe what happened. I need advice. Thank you, MK.
Welcome to the Dear MK podcast.
Okay. Welcome back to Dear MK.
Happy Valentine's Day!
Happy Valentine's Day. I feel like you're all our Valentines.
Oh, they are! We should get flowers.
We should. I wish we could send them to literally everyone.
I know!
If only maybe one day.
Maybe.
Okay, today we're talking about love bombing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's the perfect holiday to talk about it. And you can then, figure out the difference. Is this healthy? Is this not? Are these, extravagant gestures normal? Let's just start off with, what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a bunch of notes on this. So, love bombing is a manipulation tactic where someone overwhelms you with excessive affection, gifts, romantic gestures, but it's usually early on in a relationship. And what makes this just different than giving someone a bunch of gifts is the fact that there's motivation behind it. And it's usually just, like I said, a manipulation tactic.
Yeah, I think describing it as overwhelming is the best, and I think a lot of people think it's always material, which it's not necessarily. We've talked about it. I talked about it last episode, how I was kind of sold the dream.
Mm-hmm.
You don't deserve to be treated this way. You're so incredible. These kind words that sound like this person is like, oh my god, I feel like I've known you forever. I feel like I was meant to find you. That's a fine way to feel eventually in a relationship. You shouldn't feel that way in the first week. No matter how well you click, phrases like that are used to rope you in, to feel like if you for some reason lose this connection that you just made, it's going to be the most devastating thing in the world.
Exactly. I think I liked the way you phrased it also, just whirlwind romance.
Yeah.
That's what it would feel like to me, or in my mind when I'm describing it or thinking about it. It's more than you just being like, oh, I really hit it off with this person.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is so weird. They're saying I love you within the first week of being together.
I think we see just in media the idea of you meet someone, you have an instant connection, and you fall in love. And I've done, I think, both back to back. In my last relationship, I was love bombed. It was really overwhelming. And in the relationship I'm in now, I met him and it was instant butterflies, and I was just excited for the next moment. And the difference was in my relationship now, it was all my feelings. He wasn't telling me how to feel. I had all those own feelings of excitement, of butterflies, of I want to see him again. And nothing external was making me feel that way. In the relationship before that, I was being told, you're perfect, you're amazing, we're meant to be together. So all those external forces were making me feel those feelings. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I really like that. I think women especially are super intuitive when it comes to listening to your body and those feelings. I think that you, again, you having butterflies versus someone, again, showering you in affection to where you're like, is this butterflies or is this a pit in my stomach? And I feel like that's a really big difference. And I always like to tell people, literally tap into your body, because your body's going to tell you a lot of these times, whether or not this is a weird situation or not. But also, it's called love bombing for a reason. And manipulation is manipulation for a reason, where sometimes it's really, really hard for us to identify those things. So I also feel like we could give examples of this. So I feel kind of what we were just saying, I'm so in love with you so fast, or I've never felt this way before. You're no one I've ever met. I could see myself marrying you one day, and you literally just met them.
Yeah. I think about what it's like saying these phrases in my, over 2-year relationship now. Oh, I've never felt this way about someone.
That's
because we've been together for 2 years and I've never had a connection like this. If someone's saying that to me in the first week, I'm like, I know I'm funny, like super great time, but you can't feel that way.
And I also kind of want to comment too, like it doesn't need to be grand gestures, or even I would also say maybe it doesn't have to be a statement like that, but it could also be just constant smaller things, like you're so pretty, or like, oh my god, I'm so obsessed with you, or blah blah blah. Like if it's kind of all the time where again you feel like you're being overwhelmed with compliments, like it might not be a super significant statement like we just said, but I think it also can just be like being fully showered in smaller compliments, and also like consistent small gifts, like if it's like weird, and if it's kind of invading like your boundaries too. If someone's like, say it's like every time you're with your friends they show up with like ice cream and you're like, that's not, it might not seem like weird or bad, but if it's happening like every time to the point where you can never be alone with your friends, I feel like George Bush did that too a lot, of like just showing up at least, and then like you giving a compliment or something so it seems like normal.
A problem I had, which might have been very niche, was I was coming out of my relationship with Mr. High School, and he was flawed. That relationship was flawed, and one of the things George Bush would always say was, "Oh, I don't understand how he did that to you. I would never do that to you." And that sounds perfect.
Exactly.
Like it's not overwhelming. I'm not being hit with "I love you." It's just like, "Oh, I would never do that." And I think, "Oh my god, this is a good person," but it was just another form of that constant, like, I'm gonna do better, I'm gonna be better.
Exactly.
But it's disguised in a way that you don't pick up on it. And I think a lot of people think about love bombing and it's like it's a bomb. Like it's this huge thing, which sometimes it can be, but sometimes it can be so hidden that you're just living through it and you don't even realize.
Exactly. I think it's also like, I used to experience this all the time, and I think you did too, where again, say you're with your friends or you're doing some working out, you're doing something for you, and then it becomes, well, I really miss you, like message me back, like a little bit obsessive, and then they're like, JK, JK, or like, I'm just kidding, and I'm like, but you're doing this every time I'm apart from you, like you're not kidding, babe.
I got the like, I say I'm gonna go to the gym, and then it's gonna be like, oh, I just wish like that didn't like cut into the time we had to spend together, because I missed you so much all day, like you were in class, I just wanted to see you, and it's like, surface level, that's, you love me, you want to see me.
Exactly.
But underneath it's so manipulative. It's saying, I can't have that time for myself, and, I just need to be around you all the time. And, it's hard when they're subtle like that.
Exactly. And I personally, I consider that love bombing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it is sometimes confusing with like, let's give examples of a healthy way.
I was just thinking this. I am texting my boyfriend and he's at work or I'm in class and I say, I can't wait to see you later, I miss you. It's not like, leave your job. It's not like, I wish you weren't where you are right now. It's always, have a good day at work or have a good class, but I can't wait to see you later when we have scheduled plans. So it's like the two of us will go through our entire day knowing we're excited for that moment, but not taking away any of those moments in order to spend that time together.
I think that's a perfect way of saying it too, like not taking away. If they're doing these things in a way that, like, it does not take away from you, it doesn't take away from your self-care, your personal times, your work, things that you have to do, and it's just kind of adding to your life in like simple ways, I think that's where it's perfect. Or like, you're having a really bad day and like he shows up with flowers or ice cream or whatever, then like that's super sweet.
Yeah.
But if there's like, I just think you have to kind of remind yourself or question, like, is there any ulterior motive? How often is this happening? When is it happening? Who am I with? Like, just look for patterns, just like anything else. When it comes to unhealthy or abusive relationship, you'll find a pattern.
And there shouldn't be any encouragement for you to do something that feels wrong. Like, I remember there was always like, oh, well, could you just skip today so we could hang out? Like, could you just skip today at the gym? Could you just skip class? And it's like, no. Like, if I'm sitting in class now, I'll like be texting my boyfriend and I'll think, I don't want to be here. I'd rather be hanging out with you. but there's never encouragement to not be there. I'm earning my degree. He knows I'm earning my degree. We both know I'm going to sit in that classroom.
Right.
And there's never any malicious intent behind it, even though, yeah, I will say there's somewhere I'd rather be right now.
Right.
He's not even prompting that. He would never say, I wish you weren't in class and you were with me.
And or if they're like, I want you to skip class or whatever, and you're like, no, and then they're like, but I got you those flowers, remember?
Well, take them back then.
I just got you chocolate, or like whatever it is. It's like, if
that's not equivalent.
No, well then they're just like, now it's like a bribe that you didn't, like, you're like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't need it. So again, it goes back to, like, what's the ulterior motive? Like, were you just doing that so that I would then do something for you later? Or, like, it would take away from me in some way. And you know what? Okay, I'm actually curious on your opinion on this. What do you think if it's like, we just got in an argument and then he gets you something or she gets you something?
Personally, it's never what I would want. I want a face-to-face sit-down conversation. Whoever deserves an apology should get an apology.
Mm-hmm.
If the next day it's like we already sorted it out, I'm sorry that happened, here are flowers, fine.
Right.
You thought you wanted to do something nice, I will gladly accept your nice gesture. Mm-hmm. Or like, we had an off day yesterday, let's make a plan to spend quality time together today. Mm-hmm. So we can both make it up to each other. That's fine. But nothing material or no amount of words that aren't recognition and apology can make up for something done wrong.
I agree. I think, yeah, you need to be able to, like, talk things through. So then it's like, if the gift is used in replacement of that apology or explaining your feelings, and they're like, no, babe, we'll just forget about it. Like, here you go. I think gifts really are supposed to be a distraction for, like, whatever that motive is, and or to keep you happy, even when you're not. And also, it's like, if that's happening all the time, where that's just like their way of making things okay, like if they're fighting with you every single week and then getting you a gift every single week and they think that that just makes those arguments okay, like that's where I would call it, no, you're like attempting to.
All that's doing is like weaponizing the material thing that they're giving you. I think the same thing can happen with sex. If you're using sex to solve an argument, there's something wrong there. And I think a lot of people think, oh, well, you know, that's a way we can connect. It's something we're both putting effort into. No. Like,
it's not healthy until, like, if you have not talked things through, again, it's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And then I think we become, like, our bodies start to kind of crave that, whether it is a gift or sex or whatever that aftermath is that isn't a healthy resolve. It's like, well, now we begin to expect that, and it's like, well, where did those emotions go? Like, where did that argument go? It just kind of gets lost within you, and then things just get, like, messy. Like, that's super unhealthy.
With George Bush, it would be like I was confident enough to say, like, hey, look, this upset me. I don't feel like this was fair. And then a lot of times my feelings were shut down and I would get back that, well, you upset me, you hurt me first, whatever, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then we'd have a conversation, but nothing would be resolved. And then it would be the sex. So it's like, okay, we talked about it. We can have sex now. And then that's what would make things better, temporarily, obviously. Right. But it's like, you have to understand that any conversation is not a healing and resolving conversation.
Right. Again, like, tap into your own emotions and what you're feeling in your mind and body. Like, do you feel this resolve before you kind of do this? And I think especially anyone that, you know, if you are in an abusive relationship or you have been in one, and or you've experienced sexual assault, like, pairing sex with arguments, again, like, that could be extremely triggering. Like, that's triggering for me. I feel like I need, like, at the very least 24 hours because I don't want that argument associated with physical love at all for me.
That's a boundary I've definitely set in my relationship, like if even if it wasn't an argument or a fight, but even if I just felt like, sometimes it's weird. Sometimes you're just not on the same page.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're busy and you're like, today was weird. I didn't feel like us, whatever it is. I'll say like, if we're hanging out tonight, like I don't want you to initiate anything tonight just because I don't feel like I'm there.
Yeah.
And like if that changes and if I decide to and you're fine with it,
then
fine.
Great.
But it's like I'm not in a place where I feel like I want to be put in a position where you initiate and then I have to say, no, I feel weird about this right now.
Right.
So, like, let's take it off the table and then I can put it back on.
It's so important to have boundaries like that. And if someone is love bombing you, odds are they probably won't respect that boundary. Mm-hmm. They'll want a little more. They might tell you, like, well, this is what you need to do to make up a fight. Have you not seen the movies? Or, like, whatever it is.
I just want to make you feel good. I just want to show you how much I care about you. Like, I don't need anything. I just want to do this for you, whether that's sex or a gift or whatever it is. Like, just please let me make it up to you. Like you're going to like this is whatever. And that kind of forces you out of those boundaries, too, because it tells you you don't have them for a valid reason.
Right. No, I love that. And you've been talking a lot about your experience. I feel like I have to share mine. With Mr. Nice Guy. He's called Mr. Nice Guy because the love bombing was just so strong. And it's so crazy when I think back about this, but I'm going to share this from the perspective of I think this is really important for anyone that has been in an unhealthy relationship or abusive relationship, because when you are in those relationships, your body and mind, like I said before, like kind of starts to crave these things. Unhealthy relationships are addictive, and we have talked about that before, and I think we will talk about it again. So if you get out of this relationship and you have not healed or you have not learned what a healthy relationship looks like, your mind is still kind of playing on that like reward circuit. So if someone comes into your life that is love bombing you, it is extremely easy to fall into that, I'll say like trap in this case, because you're like, well, this person is the opposite, right, of everything I just had. So that's what happened with me, and I was just thinking, wow, like, this guy is so nice. And my exes up till this point, there was always, like, I was always getting yelled at, or there was all this pressure, this and that, and I never felt, like, sexual pressure in this relationship, but it was such a whirlwind, and we did say I love you in the first week.
That's crazy.
It was like, I met him, and then instantly he showered me in love, and I ended up like pretty much very quickly within like the first few days. We spent all our time together that week. Like, I did not see my dorm room. Like, I did not see my friends. I was texting them like, oh my god, I'm literally in love with this guy, like, this is crazy. And he fully sold me the dream, like exactly what you were saying before. He's like, I would never do what your exes did to you. I'm a real man, and like, this is how you treat women. Instantly, like, I had flowers, I had snacks, I had like just dumb stuff. Like, we went to nice dinners. He was like, I'm gonna take you home, you're gonna meet my family, my mom's gonna love you, my sisters are gonna love you. And he also like played into the like, my family has money kind of thing, and like, we'll have a really amazing life, and I'm just gonna treat you so right, like, I'm the one for you, you're the one for me. And I did end up meeting his family within, I have to say, it was like 2 weeks later.
That's crazy.
I think week 1 we said I love you. I think week 2 I met his family.
It's insane.
No, actually insane. Mind you, there was like an event happening, so it wasn't like, but I believe that even if this event wasn't happening,
it
probably still would have happened. And I just thought he was like the sweetest guy ever. And then all my friends were like, you're freaking nuts, Smile. Like, what are you doing? And I was just like, you guys don't understand. And they're like, no, this bitch is crazy. Like, we've seen her exes, like this one, whatever. And yeah, I fell into that trap so hard, and I honestly like didn't realize it until I realized within myself, like after a couple months I was just like, I don't even like this guy.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I want to say that is how it goes. Like a lot of times with love bombing, because just like anything else, I mean, those are extra love goggles because there's just so much affection compared to like love goggles in an abusive relationship where you're like, well, I just really like them, or like there's something there that draws me, compared to like, oh my God, he worships the ground I walk on. Like it's hard because especially as women or just in general, like you grow up and you're like, you should be treated like a king or a queen by whoever you're with. So like it is weird to pick out patterns.
Yeah, I think a lot of us that come from, like, not necessarily abusive, but just maybe not the most functional or healthy relationships, we go from that to being love bombed. There's a moment or, a period of time where you're thinking, okay, this is how it should be.
Exactly.
Like, maybe I was wrong. Like, I've never experienced anything like this. Like, I guess I'm the one that was missing out. And you kind of lose those gut feelings because you think, I can't put my finger on or see anything that's wrong at this point in time. And then you think, okay, is the physical attraction there? And it's like, maybe not, but maybe that's like the kind of thing I have to sacrifice because this is how it should be.
That happened to both of us.
Yeah, it did. Is the sexual chemistry there? Maybe not, but maybe this is something that grows with time because this person is obviously doing all the right things, so maybe I just don't feel it yet. And it's like you kind of like bargain with yourself to think you should sacrifice some things or some things will come eventually because you have this concept in your mind that this is just how it should be.
Exactly. We talk a lot about that, how it should be, and second guessing yourself. And that's the telltale sign for me that you're not in the relationship you're supposed to be in. Like the second you start second guessing yourself, the second you're like losing sight of you and your passions and like all the things around you that used to bring you a lot of joy, it's like, wait, why am I just looking forward to like seeing this person and the things they're going to do for me or the things they're going to say for me? I just think that when it's genuine love, it's like they say things in the right moment, in the right context, in the right amount, where they're again just like adding to your life, adding to your happiness or your self-love. And I think when it is unhealthy and there's all of these other elements, that does also create that like unequal power dynamic of like, well, they're constantly doing all this stuff for me and now I'm like, should I be doing all the same things?
Should I be doing more? Am I not enough? Are they going to get bored because I'm not doing enough for them?
Exactly. Am I not enough? Like, you're second guessing yourself on your capabilities, like what you bring to a relationship. And if you're second guessing yourself and someone's doing like so many nice things for you, again, it's like, oh, well then this isn't adding up.
No.
Like I should feel good when people do nice things for me. I don't know, it's kind of like a creepy feeling. Like once you get out of it, you're like, that was weird. Like,
you feel like you're getting everything you should be getting and you're like, this doesn't make you in love with the person though. Right. And you realize that after the fact because you're like, no amount of those things was going to make me love you.
Yeah.
But you feel like you should have.
And I think we see this a lot in media with like even just like sugar daddy kind of situations. Maybe let's go with this scenario of like you weren't looking for one. Okay, because there's a difference when someone's looking for one. That's not a completely different thing that you want to do with your life or like relationships or whatever your scenario is. But compared to like when you see on media, I think I've seen it a lot lately too. Like my For You page has been a lot of young girls being like, the age gap, he does everything for me. And it's like, everyone's like, oh my God, how do you sleep with this person? They're like 20 years older than you or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it kind of brought me back to like what you were saying of like, well, maybe the physical attraction isn't there, but they do all these things for me. And it's like, sure, like some of those relationships might be incredibly healthy, but I do think that it makes it harder to see when you're in these positions when there's things like trending on social media.
Yeah.
Like, and it might not be the same.
No, and the thought of ever needing to sacrifice one thing for another, I think, is a dead giveaway. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, it's a little weird that he's this much older, but I can look past it.
Mhm.
Or, you know, I don't feel this type of way, but he's really nice, so it's okay, I'll give him a shot. Like, those kind of things.
Right.
It's like, you should never sacrifice one for the other.
You don't want to butt.
No.
You don't want to butt.
No.
I feel like that's the thing. Like, if you're talking about anything in your relationship and you're like, you know, they're not like the nicest, but yeah, they do all these things for, but like they do have money, or
but
they're
I
so
really
hot.
love them.
Yeah, like or that.
Yeah, like no matter what it is, like because I mean, but I care about them so much, or but I love them seems like the biggest butt in the world.
Exactly.
Like enough to be like, okay, well I can look past something, but it's not enough.
No, we shouldn't have to look past anything, and I think pacing and like consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like those are the green flags to look out for when it comes to this stuff. Like I genuinely think a slow burning relationship is usually a long lasting relationship.
Yeah.
And that can be controversial. I think like I'm sure there's people out there that are like, no, like this was so instant. I know like the relationship I'm currently in, I was terrified to get in because I was like, well, I've experienced all abuse and now love bombing. Like,
What's next?
Literally, like, where can I go? Like, there was the bad guys, they didn't work. The nice guys, they didn't work. Like, who are the middle guys? Like,
Yeah.
I just don't know. And he was definitely like, I think a little more into me and like putting in so much effort, and it took months for me, honestly like a true year for me to genuinely be like, oh, he just is this way. Like he's actually like consistent and nice, and like there wasn't pushing of any sort. There wasn't love bombing of any sort. It was appropriate gifts, appropriate messages where it was just enough for me to be like, okay, like keep me wanting more.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I would say like that's a bit of a thing. Like that, I think that could be a good way of looking at it, not in the toxic way, but just if you are still in your toxic brain, being like, okay, they should keep me wanting a little bit more. Like, give me enough and you're very nice and like everything's healthy, but like you're not getting absolutely everything.
Yeah, you don't want all your cards on the table at once.
No, but not in a game way.
No.
We're not talking in a game way right now.
A metaphor.
I was like,
you want to be able to like have someone keep opening up and keep learning more and show you more sides to them. Like I don't want to meet someone and I don't want you to show me your most sensitive, vulnerable self immediately. No. I want to know that it takes a little bit for you to get comfortable. I want you to know that it takes for you to be able to trust me, for you to show me certain things, because I'm that way. And I don't want someone who's just gonna, word vomit it all out me and show me everything in the first 20 days.
Trauma dump.
Like no, thank you. You want to see growth. My favorite thing is when they get like progressively weirder with you.
Oh man, yeah.
And it's like that should happen.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be like, who is this person? Like when you first meet someone.
No, I love that. It's a healthy progression.
Yeah.
You're peeling the onion back slowly. No, I genuinely think like slow burn is good. Like when you are head over heels right away and like falling into that, it does just make me think of the patterns that you see in abusive relationships, the really high highs, the really low lows. When you're in that, like you can have a fiery side and you're like someone that does like get a little bit what's the right word, like passionate in something, and like that's just like your personality, versus like you being like so upset and then like so sad and then so happy, like that's very different than you like being with your partner. You're like, well, I do get like a little bit fiery when I'm like arguing just because I'm like passionate. Like that'd be like me, I feel like a little bit. I'm like, don't start with me, but like I'll do this in a nice way with you. I was trying to think of other things that they can, I guess, like, how do I word this? Things that you can do too, like, not only, we just talked about like what you can recognize, like green flags, red flags with it, but also like how could you maybe make sure that you go at this like pace? You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking like maybe some boundaries, even if it's not something you're like saying to them, but almost like we can just have mental like check-ins or like reminders, especially if we're speaking to anyone that is coming out of the unhealthy relationship, like what can you do to keep yourself in check or from falling into these patterns?
That's smart. I think do I want to see this person is a big thing. Like after you meet someone, they're texting you, they're showing you attention, but do I want to spend time with them again? Mm-hmm. Did I like their personality? Do I want to hang out? Do I want to learn more, or are they just asking me to hang out?
Right.
I think that's a good first step.
I think so too, because it's also like, yeah, what do I like about this person? Mm-hmm. And then that would probably help with identifying your buts. Because if you're like, why do I want to be with this person?
Yeah.
Like, well, like, I know if I go see them, like, they're going to get me a really nice dinner, but the chat's not really there for me. Like,
yeah, you don't want that.
I really said the chat. I'm watching
Love Island. The second it came out of your mouth, I was like, she's watching it. I know it. What are you watching? What season?
I'm watching All Stars. I wanted to know if you're watching
the current season?
Currently, right now.
No.
Why are we never watching things at the same time? You watch with your dad.
I watch with my dad.
I know.
Yeah, I have to wait for him. I'm avoiding everything on it on social media.
I want you to watch it so bad.
So I know some of my favorites are on there. Like I loved Grace, and I know she comes back.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I'll
okay.
watch it, but then like I feel like people are so in and out that sometimes I like forget their names.
Yeah.
But I was actually when I was talking about it thinking of Ekin-Su.
Fucking Ekin-Su. I've heard
she's my favorite.
I've heard she's crazy this season, and I can't wait.
Okay,
I loved her.
But when I look at Ekin-Su, I think of myself because I'm like, okay, especially in this season. Can I spoil a little bit of just how she acts? If you've seen it, like that she's doing it. Okay.
I haven't seen what she's doing, but you can spoil how she acts. Just don't tell me who she's with.
Yes. Deal. Okay. So to me, she has definitely had trauma in her past. She has definitely been in some toxic relationships.
Did you watch her season with Davide?
Yeah, and that was so clear.
It was crazy.
But she's like, oh, I'm just fiery, my personality. That's literally what I was thinking of when I said it. But she's trying so hard, and I can see it in her. She's trying so hard not to have her crazy come out. And honestly, though, like, she's just such a strong, badass woman, in my opinion. Like, she does know her worth, and I think it is really hard for her. And I think that she's really scared of being hurt again, and she puts her walls up.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, when she's a little bit disrespected and/or that person isn't all there for her, she's gonna get upset about it. And does she go about these arguments in the right way? Maybe not. But I can tell that she, like, really is trying, and I do think she's someone who does have, like, that spicier attitude, and I think she craved, so Davide, right, that's they were hot, cold, they were high highs, low lows, right, not very healthy relationship. I will say the person she's with now, I think he's pretty healthy. Mm-hmm. And so when they first got together, I thought this is perfect because she needs that kind of guy to bring her back down and remind her, like, I'm not going to hurt you, and I'll be there for you, and you don't have to have these high highs and low lows with me, and we can, like, still have a good relationship, and you'll see, like, what real love feels like here. But now I'm, currently, if anyone's like caught up in it, I'm not so sure about this guy. But you do want to see in him, like, he's a bit turned off by her, exploiting. Yet he says to her, I love that side. So friggin' typical of guys. So, like, I love you when you're, like, so fiery, and then it's like,
but they don't want to direct it at them.
Right, when they go to stand up for themselves. I do think, like, she didn't do the worst job, honestly, in the beginning. Like, it was not the best, but it also was not old Ekin. I do not think she was being old Ekin. She's improving. And I don't know, I just, like, looked at her, and I'm like, she just, like, needs those reminders. She needs that, like, solid love, but obviously Love Island is not the place to feel constant security.
God, but, like, you think about it, and we've all had those moments where it's like, fuck, I handled that poorly.
Right.
I remember recording last year, and we were in it. I had been doing this. I knew right and wrong, and I came in and I was like, I fucked up.
I actually remember
we
this.
got in an argument, and I just walked out. I just left his building. I left where he lived.
Yes,
he called me. I kept
this.
walking, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And it's like, we don't sit here and act like we've never done the wrong thing before. Like, you can be so far healed and so healthy and in such a great position and still handle something like shit. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, please. I'm like, I've said it before, but like when I was in my abusive relationships, like I took on, after a while, I just took on a lot of those toxic behaviors.
Yeah.
Because it just ended up being like tit for tat in my mind.
And that's like fun when you're in it.
It is, and that's why these are addictive. And then when I began dating my current partner, he was like, "You gotta stop.
Don't.
Like, you have to stop this." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm the toxic one. Like, what is happening to me?" And I would also explode and walk away and whatever. Like, I was also still figuring out a lot of my triggers, and just didn't know them. So it was like sometimes something would be said or done, like maybe not even like from him, but just like a situation. Yeah. And then I'm like, I feel unsafe and unhappy, and like I'm gonna take it out on you because that used to be taken out on me, and then I didn't know what to do with that. So like this is how it goes, right? Like I had never seen a healthy or been a part of a healthy argument. So it's like you don't always know. And yeah, I do think that's like so important to give yourself grace with that.
Yeah, and know that the right person isn't gonna punish you for that.
Thank you for saying that.
Like we talk about these behaviors, and when you're in these, even sometimes the love bombing or the toxic relationships, it's like they do all these things for you, and then you handle something wrong, which we do because we're humans, and then it's like, how dare you? How could you do that? And then there's payback. And like there's that tit for tat behavior, and it's like the right person is never gonna do that.
No.
Like everyone's gonna mess up. Like I think the two of us are in very healthy, very functional relationships, and I'm sure we've both messed up recently. I'm sure both of our partners probably have. And it's like that just happens, and it's like you're learning together. You've never done life with this human being before. You've never lived this situation with this human being before. You're going to do it for the first time, and it's not going to be perfect every time.
Exactly. And if you are the significant other, take it when we just said, and you don't have to do tit for tat, and also like just be patient. Like just as the survivor is going to give themselves grace, the person that survivor's with should also understand that their brain has literally been wired differently, and it's going to take some time to get that network back together. Yeah, like it legitimately took me probably like, if I'm being totally honest, probably like a full 3 years in a healthy, consistent relationship to get rid of like every kind of instinct. I'm gonna say instinct because that's literally what it becomes and feels like for me. Like those thoughts of like, oh, do I act out right now? Or is he lying to me? Or, well, I'm not good enough and I'm insecure right now. But like then being able to look at the situation of like, well, why do I feel that way? Have they done anything that makes me feel that way? And if it's no, it's like, well, then that's the inner work you gotta do, babe. Like, and that's a hard realization. Like, that's a lot of self-awareness.
I have those reflection points too, where I think, okay, is there anything logically that should make you doubt X, Y, or Z? But it's like, I still don't think I'm in a place where I don't have those instincts.
You don't think you're...
I don't think I'm in a place where I've gotten rid of all those instincts.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Which would make sense, right? Yeah. Because how many years has it been now?
It's been a little more than 2 years with my partner, and probably 3. Yeah, 3.
3, right? Because it took, I was 1 year out from truly abusive when I met my partner, but I was only a couple months out from my love bombing partner.
Yeah.
So I was all sorts of confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 3 years like within a healthy, consistent relationship because it really did take consistency. Like
Yeah.
that was probably the biggest thing for me. Like you can tell yourself all day long, this person isn't that way. I'm safe. I am strong and powerful. This isn't going to happen to me again. You can practice that forever. And I just think until you actually witness and feel like real love for that long, like you don't believe it.
Yeah.
You know?
I do.
Oof, that was deep for
Yeah.
me. I just felt that. I actually kind of wanna this is a good segue because it's like we're feeling good
Mhm.
and we're talking about like recovery a bit. So I asked some of our listeners if they could write in I said like survivor love letters and or notes, but I said it can be to themselves, a friend, or someone that supported them, and it was just supposed to be like a quick little thing. And I have some that I wanted to share, and then I thought we could each share one.
Yeah.
Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So one was life may feel dark for a while, but I promise you will see the light. I mean, it's true.
I love it.
It does feel really dark for a long time, but there's always light.
Yeah.
Light at the end of the tunnel. Just because someone chooses not to believe you doesn't make it any less real or valid.
That's really good. I mean, a lot of the things we talked about today too are those not unconventional, but not the first to be recognized
Exactly.
in terms of like, hey, I feel like I need help in this relationship. So a lot of these like mental and emotional games are just not the kind of thing people feel like are worth talking about or bringing up, and a lot of people feel like they're not going to get the recognition they deserve. So, whatever the response is, know that if you're not feeling good, there's a reason for that, and those
Yeah.
feelings are completely valid, and like no one can tell you your bad feeling or what you're hurt by isn't worthy of those
Yeah.
feelings.
No matter how small,
Yeah.
your voice matters. No matter how small you think something
Yeah.
is or someone else thinks something is. To my best friend who never gave up on me, thank you. I feel like there's so many people that can relate to that.
Yeah.
And everyone needs someone. And that's where it is like you have to be patient.
Yeah, and I feel like our episode next week has a really great story of a friend who really stuck by no matter what. And I think I'm excited for everyone to hear that because even like when it's not easy, that's so important to have, and it's so important to be that person for someone else.
Right.
So
it made such an impact in
Yeah.
her journey.
Yeah.
It was really incredible to hear. Okay, that's all I want to share from listeners. I wrote one.
Can I say
Does
something to our
yeah,
listeners first?
yeah.
I met someone like last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay.
And they reached out to us, and it was so special.
Should I read it? I can read just part of it.
Just part of it, yeah. And I hope they're listening now, and I hope they know that we appreciate that. But it's really so valuable to have real stories come in and people say like, "Hey, look, we're listening, and this was helpful." And I think we just want to recognize that like we see all of you that listen and that reach out and that respond, and it's like we truly do a lot of times go out with the intentions of trying to meet people that this can genuinely help, and when that does happen, it's like the most important thing to us. Like I got this message, and so did Maya, like around the same time. We were texting that morning and we were like, this is exactly what we needed. This is the best thing ever. And I just want to say thank you to that person in particular if they're listening.
Yeah.
Because they deserve it, and they deserve to know that we're here, and hopefully the audience and the group we're building here is also here to support them.
1000%. I think, well, that's why we have this community. Like, we are all here to support each other. Like, I want people to be talking to each other in the comments, DMing each other, like, hey, new bestie survivor friend, like, this is exactly what I needed, because this stuff just isn't talked about a lot. And I'll just say, too, like, I get in my head all the time.
Yeah.
Kay knows it. I come to her and I'm like, did I say the right thing? Like, did I share too much about myself? Or is this going to be something that's judged? And then I'll get a message from someone, yeah, that listens, or just knowing that you can impact. Even like for me, I always think if every time I talk, I can make one person feel better, connect with one person, then that makes everything worth it for me.
Oh,
like
100%.
that's literally why we do this. Yeah, this person, I'll just share a piece of what they said. They said, hey, I've been listening to your podcast for the past few days. It's been incredibly helpful and has helped me feel not so alone in dealing with a lot of my trauma issues in my past relationship. One of my favorite songs says the following: I might not feel fond, but I'm not as lost as I used to be, and that feels accurate. And I think that's also like a wonderful Valentine's Day message too. Like, I mean, everything we're sharing, even this, you've truly changed my life in this experience for me as a whole. And that was just talking.
Yeah.
That's just talking. So yeah, if messages from us can like make literally anyone feel better, then I think our job
is done. Yeah, that's all we really want.
Do you have one final message?
Oh, you didn't say your message.
I know, I was just gonna give you.
Oh no, I want to hear your
actually
message.
haven't even. I wrote this like late last night, and it's just 2 sentences. What begins as feeling like a shell of a human can turn into feeling unstoppable. You think all your power is taken away until you realize that you're so much more than what happened to you, and you're so much stronger than you could have ever imagined.
That's beautiful.
That was like what I felt from reading those messages last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thank you was what I really wanted to share. I just feel like something we talk about all the time is that, like, we both definitely were at points where we thought, like, there's no way this goes away. And we've turned it into something absolutely beautiful. Like, this is without a doubt, like, one of the best parts of my life. Like, I feel grateful every day to be here doing what we're doing, even if, like you said, it's just like one person receiving or listening. And I think that's gonna, like, that type of growth is gonna exist for everybody. Everybody that feels the way we did at some point, they're not gonna turn to this exact platform, but they're gonna get to a moment in their life where they think, I'm in such an incredible place and I never thought I'd be here. And I think that's something to hold on to.
That was beautiful. So to everyone out there, happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day.
We're there for you.
We love you.
Take care of yourself.
And the people you love.
Yes. Okay, we love you.
See you next week.
And I love you. That just like felt so good. Okay. That was perfect timing too.
I love that. Let's get
what
her
a
off.
beautiful episode.
I know, that was really good.
Till next time, XOXO MK.